let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody, today we are going to be making the Regina Phalange from Sincerely Jen Patterns tote sized. This was the original medium. I've already made the handbag. This is the tote size. There's really not that much difference in the construction, but I went ahead and omitted the rivets and added a half moon lock magnet, a half moon magnet, so that this was a full slip pocket, and I like it. I think it's cool. It looks fancy. I did still add the rivets. They're just under the lining, on top of the lining, but such a cute bag. I love the materials I used, and I can't wait to show you how to make it. So let's do that. Hello everybody. Today we are going to be cutting out this part of the video. We're going to be sewing up the tote size for the Regina Phalange bag from Sincerely Jen Patterns. I did not film a cutting video for this. I felt like it was very similar pieces, just changed in size from the handbag size that I've already done a video for. So, sorry. So we're gonna get started by working on the straps for the bag. I have decided to do double-sided straps. So I've cut out the length of the handle as is instructed, and then I did one piece 2 inches wide and one piece 1.75 wide. Okay. I also cut out a crossbody strap, but I can wait to sew that kind of until the end. So I'm going to work on folding the top portion of that handle. I don't know why I like to do these double-sided straps other than, like, I think it just looks pretty and adds some variation. It also can help if you have less of your fabric left over because it's not taking up the full width. So I think that's fun as well. And we don't need to leave much, if any, of a gap in between those straps. And I like to work from the center out. So I have interfaced my pattern pieces with some Sew Fuse Plus, some Decaville Light, and Decaville Heavy. I use Decaville Heavy on my bottom panel, and I use Decaville Heavy also on the bottom band. I read later it said Decaville Light, and I was like, I like Decaville Heavy, because I think I used Heavy on the handbag size as well. I don't fully remember. But there's a video for it, so we could reference that. All right, so I'm just going to center this on there, and I think it looks so fun. You can trim any excess discrepancy pieces. I'm hoping the thread I have in here matches. It definitely matches the roses, but I don't know how well it matches the magenta pearl. Maybe a hot pink would have been more fun for it. But I started the cameras and realized I didn't prep any of this, and I was like, well, I don't have time to turn it all off and wind up often. So you want to sew around all 4 sides of your strap. Even if you're going to add strap ends, just looks nice. And then we'll cut any excess so it's all even. It's so pretty. And I used to think, like, okay, double-sided straps are cute, but man, they take forever. That is especially true of crossbody straps that are double-sided, but just like with anything, the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the faster you'll get. See, no twisting. And if you don't make sure that your tape is pressed down all the way, it will kind of rip like that. The tape I'm using, I carry it on my website, but it is from Weft and Warp Co. I know a lot of people prefer the Huohuac tape. I just find my machine doesn't have as much like sticky residue when I use this one, but yeah. Whatever you want to use. It's like why there's options out in the world. Okay, so I'm going to use some 1/4 inch wide tape down the center just to help stick these together. I'm using a regular weight Luxe vinyl that I carry on my website, as well as a mid-weight Luxe. So I think it's kind of nice to having the different weights so that when they're together, like one strap out of either one might feel like too light, too heavy. So it's kind of a perfect in between. And the stitch length I'm using is a 5. Like butter. Just cuts through it so easily. Alrighty. Now, so pretty. We're gonna prep our side zippers. I'm using a mix of zipper tape colors because I didn't have enough of this color. Don't worry about it. So adding my zipper pulls. And then taking a lighter just to prevent any fraying over time. Right, this one wasn't even. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to grab our front panel with those curved zipper end pieces. And we're going to grab 2 of our lining pieces. There should be like 4 that are the same size. Or is it 3 altogether? Oh, I cut 4. So you should have an exterior and a lining with those curved cutouts. What I decided to do was not cut that out at the cutting table. And probably should have, because the last time I made this size, I messed it up pretty bad. But I'm going to clip these right sides together. I'll go ahead and cut out and then we can do a 3/8 inch seam allowance. It is so, so, so vital to have that exact seam allowance for this piece. The one tote size I made, there were some other issues while the pattern was in testing, but I know that I royally messed it up because I did not do a 3/8 inch. I was like, it's fine, but no, it's not fine. It's a pretty big deal. So we're gonna switch our stitch length to about a 4, and we'll sew around that. Nice and slow around that curve as well. Now on the handbag size, I did not add any interfacing to my vinyl. And this time I decided to add a little bit of Sew Fuse Plus to the main panels, if that's what they're called. So you can see I've got that Sew Fuse Plus just out of that seam allowance. And the reason I decided to do that is because, one, the pattern calls for Deck of the Light, but depending on what kind of vinyl you use, like, you really don't have to do that. But I just felt like the medium size needs that little bit extra depending on the lining you choose, etc. So I just felt like it was right for me. So I'm going to snip in to this little curve so that I can get it to sit nicely. And you can also add those little monster teeth if you want. Okay. And then we're going to flip this. And you'll want to make sure that you've backstitched at those seams. And then we're going to massage this seam allowance flat. And I want to see just a hair of the exterior from the lining side. Just a little tiny bit. The reason for that is I do not want to see any of my lining from my exterior side. So clip this together and seam roll it maybe if you can, because for the next step we're going to be adding our zippers. So what I like to do here is line up the top edge of that panel and then you want your zipper zipping up. So I'll remove my clips. I'm going to lay my zipper into place nice and flat against the bottom edge and the side. And then I'm clipping the zipper in place, but I'm avoiding the lining. I don't want to clip the lining because we have to take that off. Okay. And you can tape that down if you would prefer. So nice and slow around that curved edge. zip your zipper out of the way, and then lay it flat again. Dang it, I do this every time. I forgot to increase my stitch length. It's okay. So now your zipper is zipped, and then we'll repeat that on the other side, lining up the edges. And to be completely honest with you, these zippers, like if this intimidates you about the pattern, technically it's optional. You don't have to add them. You could cut your exterior the back way, as the back panel is, just the whole way, and it would be okay. Okay, so we're lining up the edge and the bottom and clipping. That in place. Avoiding the lining, because if you don't take off the lining, you're going to be stitching through the lining, and then you don't have a pocket to open. Okay, unclip. Okay, we're getting close to the top. Actually, what I'm gonna do is zip this all the way and then unzip it. Like, I want to make sure my teeth are aligned properly when I sew over it. Okay. Feel good about that? Yep, yep. Okay. So they both zip up. This is the top. We're gonna grab our lining panel. You can see I've got my selvage here, kind of in that cut, but that is okay because I know we're gonna be kind of trimming the excess off under there. So we're gonna clip these together, and we're gonna flip the top edge up and out of the way, sewing through both lining but not the exterior, and you're gonna just catch the top of that zipper. We're sewing it like a 5/8 or 1/2 inch, as close as we can. And we're gonna cut this away to save some bulk. And then you can baste the rest into place. Trim our excess fabric, excess thread. Okay. And now we want to prep our strap connectors. I got those somewhere. And we want to grab our square rings. Oh yeah, I'm also going to hopefully add a half moon magnet to the back slip pocket. I think that would be super fun. So this is my other front panel. This is my top interior. These are my connectors. Side connectors. What's my upper exterior look like? Oh, here it is. Upper exterior, upper exterior. And my remaining lining pieces. This will probably be as far as I get right now. So normally I would cut my connectors as one long strip and top stitch it, but I was using up scraps to cut this out, so I just have a bunch of these little pieces here. It's not a bunch, it's 4. It's not that many, but I'm just gonna top stitch these all at once, get them prepped, because then we are going to be adding our strap connectors to the bag. I was hoping to use a little bit thinner of the vinyl, like the mid-weight luxe, but I think this will be a nice contrast since I didn't have enough to do the top of the bag. And the other fabrics I had thought I might use really didn't coordinate well enough, especially using this magenta pearl. And the main reason we used magenta pearl is we did a poll and y'all picked magenta pearl overwhelmingly. The majority. It was the winning match. So we are going to baste these together at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to line up the edge 1/2 inch and baste along the bottom. That is going to be my guide when I go to add this to the exterior main panel so that I have it consistent and I'm not just kind of like trying to eyeball it or anything within my seam allowance. There we go. Okay. So we'll make sure we've got our print going in the right direction. And I'm going to mark my center at the top. And then there's different measurements given in the pattern for different sizes. And we're going to measure from the center. And this is the end of our strap where that goes. Well, end of our handle, I should say. And we can repeat that for both sides. And now I have that little, my basting stitch where my seam allowance is. So this will get lined up on the outside edge of that mark. And that's basted in place. I didn't do that right for this side. Nope. Nope. Did not. That needed to be our lining. Okay. Those will go there. I'll grab one of these. Oops. Try that again. And that's okay because we're going to be sewing at a 3/8 inch seam allowance this piece and our lining for that. So make sure you're clipping that along the top edge. We'll sew those together in a minute. And I'm adding a magnet, so I need to also make some changes when I do that. So got the right side of the fabric, lining the 1/2 inch line up with my mark. And that the magnet I want to add is in no way, shape, or form necessary at all. I just think it'll be kind of fun to add that to the bag. Okay. So we can go ahead and add that to this side now. We've got them marked, don't we? Ah, top. Goodness. Got all discombobulated because I messed up. Not gonna do it, girl. I'm just thinking about it. All right, and now we're gonna add that top exterior panel. And I'm just making sure that I like the repeat of it. It's such a small piece of the bag that I'm like, does it matter if it's upside down or not? But it does, so we'll just do this. So we're gonna line up that top edge in the center. It might be hard to get these to sit evenly because of the bulk of the connector, so just do your best. And then this is a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to top stitch through on the bottom. But you'll notice here on this side, it's kind of hard to fold down. So we're just going to borrow a little trick from Knotted Threads Co. and add a little snip there and press this flat. There. Or you can even press it in opposite directions, wherever it wants to go, but that'll help keep what needs to be sitting flat, sitting flat. Oh, that's pretty. There we go. So that is the back panel or the front, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to add a rivet through that connector right there. In a little bit. So this piece will come together. We're going to do a 3/8 inch along the top here. Whoops. Okay. So for this half moon lock, again, completely unnecessary. The bag will not gape open. I just thought it would be super fun to try to add. I'm going to center mark this. I'm going to grab this hardware. This is going to need the magnet side. This is going to need this. We'll unscrew. Oops. Whoops. Unscrew this. Ooh, goodness. Okay, this is going to get centered on there. But first, we're going to add this to the back. Now this is only going to go through your lining. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because that's going to cover it. Okay. So this is my center. And this is going to go all the way to the top edge. So we're going to mark where our screws are going to go and where the slits for the magnet are going to go. Oh, duh. And this will need to go through this piece. I wonder though if I'm not going to be able to. I have to go through it all. Okay, got that through. But I think either way, I need to cut my holes out regardless. So I'll go ahead and hole punch. Through both the exterior and lining. And I think you have to press the washers in towards each other. Yeah, it won't work if they're going out. Okay. And I always make sure to leave my screws on a magnet. Make sure you can see completely through that hole. Yeah. I think it's going to be super cute. So like hardware like this takes a little extra time, so that can be frustrating, but I think in the end it'll be worth it. And you can use a little bit of glue in there as well if you think you need to. I would laugh so hard if it was like really not centered. Oh, it's so pretty though. Okay. So then we'll need to add the other magnet, the other side of this magnet to this side of the slip pocket, but let's go ahead and add our top first. So let's see how we want the print to go. See, that's a little too close for my liking, so I am going to do this one upside down. I don't think it's as visually displeasing on this version. This side. And then I'll add my nameplate to the other side on the accent piece. Make sure your hardware is all the way up. And then we're going to top stitch through the lining, pulling on all those layers. Oh, it's so cute. So just making sure that's good. Kind of gonna create like a bit of a stamp so that I know where to add the other half of this. Perfect. Right there. So I'll line up my washer. Mark out the sides. So now if I didn't want to rivet through my exterior slip pocket, I guess I don't have to, because we've got a magnet to kind of help hold that together. But for, you know, consistency, I probably will. And then I just want to line up the top edge of that pocket, and then we'll baste all that together. And I did add interfacing to the pocket piece. This piece, but I did not interface the back of this. So you can see what that looks like now. If you wanted to still rivet through your handle, you could go there, but I'm worried like then that half moon lock doesn't give you as big of a pocket, but you could still rivet here and here, which is, I think I might do that because I love the idea of being able to like stick an iPad fully in this exterior pocket. So I think I will do that. And then I'll just rivet here and here. Here. Like, what are you saying? Okay, so we'll work on our strap connector and do our rivets after that, because then it'll be time to add additional rivets as well. So side connectors, side panels, and 1-inch D-rings. It's gonna just fall. Folding in the side connectors to the center, and then I think I'm gonna do a 3/8 inch top stitch to help hold that, and it just gives it a little more visual interest. And we can go just the long sides for that. You don't have to go across the bottom. Alrighty. So now on that side panel, I'm going to mark the center bottom because we're going to need that later. But I'll also use it to center the connector. So I'm going to add some 1/4 inch wide double-sided tape along the bottom portion of it. And we're going to measure 1 1/4. So I'm going to line the D-rings up at the 1 1/4 and fold that over. Dang. I'm going to add a piece of tape here to help me hold it. You don't want to tape through your hardware though. So peel that off. My D-ring is at the 1 1/4. Fold that down. Repeat that here. And then I like to make sure to measure my final connector as well. Okay, so mine's like 9 7/8. So that one's a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to kind of readjust it. 9 7/8. There we go. Rude. Yes. All right. And then you could also tape it after if you wanted. That would be fine too, but here we go. So lining up that center mark, and this piece tapers, so it's kind of hard to measure to make sure you've got it perfectly center, but you could measure each side this way if you wanted. 2 1/2, 2 1/2, okay, that's good. So then top stitch that at 1/8 of an inch. And make sure your connector sits nicely. Ooh, I love that variation in it. All right. Now our side panels are prepped. We're going to add rivets through those. I'm going to mark that. I'll punch that hole. there's that one punched. I can't really punch the hole on those sides, so I'll use my hole punch for that. But then these pieces we can put right sides together. And this is a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to open that up and top stitch it. And I find this really satisfying to top stitch. And now you can add a little scrap of something to the back of this if you're worried your stitches might come undone eventually or something. Or something might poke through it, but I think we're going to be just fine. So through one side, stitch over that side, and then continue on. And then mark your oh, dang it. I missed that. That's okay. Mark your centers in the opposite direction. Dang, I missed them all over the place. And so when you attach this, it's like a band along the bottom. And this was to kind of reduce bulk on the bottom seam from that zipper panel. So there's that. So our exterior is coming together wonderfully. I'm going to go ahead and add those rivets. So we just need 1, 2, 3, 4 posts, 4 caps. We'll need some later as well. So I can just open up that magnet, line that up, punch the hole. So visually it's going to be a bit uneven, but I'm not super worried about that because we've got the half moon lock, which will kind of offset the visual inconsistency. I think it'll be okay. There's that one. So with that done, we can attach our side panels and start with the front. And clip that in place. And we're going to sew that on at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And you just have to be careful with your zipper pull. So zip it out of the way. But make sure your edges stay lined up. And then you're going to open that up and top stitch on the side panel. And here, if your zipper seam allowance is a little inconsistent, you can kind of fake it by folding your side panel over a little bit more while you're top stitching, if you need to. And then repeat on this side. You want to start with your zippers because top stitching those is going to be the trickiest. Line that up. Okay, and then sewing from the bottom to the top is less of an issue when it comes to that zipper. And top stitch. And then we'll add our other side. A 3/8. And you want to do your best to be as precise as possible with your seam allowances because we have that bottom band to attach, and if there's variation, you're going to know. All right. Oh, it's so pretty. I think what I love about this bag is all those different pieces. You could do so many different color combos and really make each bag look so different and kind of change. I mean, the silhouette remains the same, of course, but the personality of the bag varies because of how you chose to make each piece look. Okay, and so for this one, you're going to flatten that seam, and we're going to have to sew this way. kind of moving the bulk of the bag out just a little bit at a time and making sure that seam is pressed nice and flat. Okay. And then your needle up, and this is where I'll just kind of push it through like that. Okay. All right, now be very careful. Make sure that the band, the bottom band, you line up the side seam with the side of your side panel. Start there. Very important. That is where that goes. And repeat that on this side panel as well. Side panel, side seam. Hello, nice to meet you. Okay. And then if you have your centers marked on your main panels, go there. And you want these to be right sides together with the band face up, because everything will just kind of fit better in that way. If there's any strange bunching at all, now is the time to fix it. Whether it's increasing your seam allowance somewhere and seam ripping, or cutting a new bottom band to try to make it fit. Sorry, I'm just thinking of what Jenny did. You could just omit the bottom band altogether and trim your lining pieces down. She didn't trim, she seam ripped, but it's funny. Okay, this fits perfectly. So you could staple a couple of different areas if you want to make sure nothing shifts, because that would be a sad day. But we're gonna start sewing that together at 3/8 of an inch. And you're gonna be right next to, but not through, the Decaville light or heavy, whatever stabilizer you went with. And we're going to be pressing that open and top stitching through as well. And so you're just going to open this and top stitch with that seam, the bulk of that seam pointing down. And I'm going to start that on my side seam here. And you really have to shift your perspective for this one so that you're right up against that seam. And then you can pull your stitches to the back here. And then you'll be ready to attach the bottom panel. And you can see it's a pretty big bag so far. All those little pieces came together to make quite a large bag. I have not made the traveler size, but holy cow, is that a big bag as well. We are gonna add some purse feet to this because I pulled some out. But the first, yeah, I'm gonna add purse feet first, and then I'm gonna do some top stitching, and that'll be good. So I'm gonna grab my 1 1/4. I'm trying to think. No, I'll do 1 inch. Yeah. So I'm just going to take my 1 inch ruler up against the edge, and that's going to be where my purse feet go centered. So that could be, if you wanted to just add 4, you can. Otherwise, you can then find the center and do 5. My preference is always going to be 5 because if you think about it, the center, the weight of the bag hits. So I like to add 5 myself. So I'm going to add purse feet, I'm going to add duct tape, and then I'm going to do a little stitch around the duct tape to keep it from lifting. I no longer add purse feet without adding duct tape. Just because when you turn the bag, these prongs hurt sometimes, man. Okay, and I'm gonna add the washers to the back side. Open up the prongs. Call it. Ow. Dang it. I'll just do that. And then, come on now. I like to sew through the duct tape just to prevent it from lifting. So you can mark this out if you want. I'm just gonna sew at a 1/2 inch. Around. So this is gonna catch the stabilizer, keep it from lifting, and catch the duct tape. So I'm just keeping the edge of my vinyl lined up with the 4 on my seam guide plate. And then we'll pull our threads to the back. I'm laughing because I didn't catch the duct tape. Caught it in some areas. Okay. Crap. I should have marked my centers before I interfaced it. I always forget that. It's okay. We're doing it now. Okay. Center there was already marked. It's fine. I want to get the templates for this bag. I absolutely loved making it. This will be my 4th time making it, I think. But I don't know that I need the templates, you know? Okay, so we're gonna line up the bottom panel, marking those center lines. Now, if you feel confident that the bottom panel is gonna fit, what I would suggest is just doing a quick little 1/4 inch basting just on those straight sides. So what that's going to do is prevent the need for any staples on that side, at least, and just help keep everything together. If you're making the traveler size, I highly suggest adding these little basting stitches to make your life easier. Just make sure you're staying away from the curved sides. Sounds like my bobbin's gonna go soon too. And the main reason I say stay away from the curved sides is because you don't want to sew further than you need to, because you're gonna need to curve the bottom of your bag. You can also baste where you've clipped in the center, but this feels good. Definitely going to add staples to these curves. This vinyl is a little bit slippery, doesn't have much grip because of the like glass like top layer. So I really don't want to risk any kind of shifting. So we've got that all secured. So I need to find my little stapler. Where you at? Hey girl. Ah, right there. She's looking for pink instead of black. And then you can staple at 1/8 of an inch. I taught a class at OSQE last weekend. But there was a woman who was mostly a garment seamstress, and I have no doubt she was extremely talented as a garment seamstress, because her bag also turned out really well. But I mentioned, like, oh yeah, some people will use staples for this and that, and she was like, staples in a sewing room? Like, I don't know, it was funny. She was very sweet. But new to bag making, and so it felt a little unorthodox to her, for sure. Which is fair. Okay. So 3/8 inch seam allowance, nice and slow around the curve, and I'm not worried about my layers shifting as I'm sewing against this. I just need to worry about my bobbin running out. But I've got my staples in place. I also decreased my seam allowance just a little bit. Stitch length. Your stabilizer may look a little bit different. I'm making this off the old version of the pattern, or the original, and I think Jenny had mentioned that she decreased the size of the stabilizer pieces. Whoop. Just be extra careful as you're sewing along the curve with those staples to not cut your finger. Okay, and then if you wanted to add a second row of stitching next to that eighth or that 3/8, you totally could. And I'm going to trim down my bottom panel, carefully cutting away the staples. So I know those staples won't be cut through. I don't want to ruin my beautiful scissors. So now if you need a little hit of dopamine, you could turn this bag. Just looking at it is enough for me. It looks so good. But we're gonna move on to the lining. Got all my rivets set. Bottom is attached. Hardware's on. Oh my God, I didn't set the rivets on the side. That's so funny. Glad I said it. I must have known. Punched that hole, but didn't add a rivet. I was definitely in a hurry when I left. Okay, now the exterior is done and we're ready to move on to the lining. So we're gonna get started with the slip pocket, and this is a part of the pattern that I've changed for myself. I like the look of this kind of slip pocket better. So I'm gonna take one of my linings, make sure you know the orientation of what is up and what isn't. So when I cut out this pocket, I doubled the height of the cut size and subtracted the seam allowance. So this became like 11.5, give or take, tall by the width of the slip pocket. I marked 1 inch on the width, and I'm folding those in with some tape. And then we're gonna fold this up. And I'm gonna just baste along the top really quick at 1/8 of an inch. Get out of here. Oh, bobbin ran out right then and there. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I think I have enough, but part of me wants to switch to like the ube variegated with this as my bobbin just to like get me through the lining, but we'll be fine. When this runs out, maybe I will. Alrighty. I'm just looking through my woven labels. I want to add a couple. I'm going to do I'm Handcrafted, Take Care of Me, and my little woven label. So I'm going to pop this into this seam when I sew the bag down. And I'll put this under this little trim piece. So I marked, this trim piece is cut to the original width of the slip pocket and 1 inch tall. And then we're gonna fold this over. I marked my center. And then I made sure I cut it nice and straight. And I'm just gonna add my little woven label underneath. And I'm still taping down that excess, but I'm not gonna sew over it. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm gonna kind of start there. So I'm gonna use a 1/4 inch, and then I'll do a 3/8 because I'm worried I won't catch the back. Okay. All right, I'm gonna cut my excess away. Nice and straight, not cutting through my lining fabric. So just right next to it. Okay, and then we're going to fold this in half. And this goes 1 inch up from the bottom. Give or take. Okay. And then I'm gonna sew this in place, and I'm also gonna add rivets to the side and middle. I just really like the way that looks. And I'm gonna sew next to my center line. Up, over, back one, back forward, just to reinforce. Down the center line, back one, and continue on. Seeing if I can pull my thread to the back. I don't know that I can. It's backstitched so well. This one I got. So then we can add 3 rivets to this if you want, but we'll do one in the middle here, right there, one at the top here, and then one at the top here. So I like to mark them out. Come over here. And then just be so careful that you don't chomp through your stitches. And then you can also use little scraps of interfacing behind your rivets just to ensure they're not going to pop out over time. And then set them. Oh my gosh. I fully confidently pushed that down. And it's crooked. Oh my god, that one is too. What is happening? Dang it. I don't have a rivet removal tool here, but those are helpful, so I'm gonna yank this one off. That's why you shouldn't sew past 11:30. There we go. Not the ideal way to remove a rivet. What was that about? Ripping through your stitches? Yeah, they're still there. We're good. Okay, we're just gonna go slow. Nobody's gonna get hurt. Okay, that was my problem too. I like the post being in the bottom and the cap on top. There we go. Dude, they were all a little crooked. Oh, that was my very crooked one. That one wasn't. Okay. Here we go. It's fine. Good thing I didn't add that little bit of interfacing to the back of that, huh? Would have been even harder to get off. Much better. Never happened. Just a girl. All right. So that pocket's done. This will be my top zipper. Zipper pocket, other lining. The lining is definitely a time-consuming part of this bag, but it's so worth it in the end. I think it was my center divider that I was gonna have be purple. I think that'll be a fun contrast. So I'm gonna grab one of my zipper pulls. There we go. Why is this too small? Like way too small. 10 1/4? For what? No, that's my zipper. Okay. 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 This is my divider. Is that my divider? That seems so small. That seems right. I mean, I can make that work, but it's risking it. I must have just miscut. I don't even know. Interior. Yeah, no, that's fair. I cut them based off of the handbag size. I don't know why, because I didn't cut the others based off the handbag size. Okay, well, yeah. I guess we'll just do a different color. So you two can't sit with us anymore. I'll just do white. Or mixed berry? Wait. How's this one? This is bright purple from Wizardry. Great. That'll be perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, I'm glad I questioned that. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So this is my other lining. I can set that aside. We're going to be adding that. But first, right side up for your zipper pocket lining pieces. 1/4 of an inch. Right sides together. So your zipper tape face up, zipper lining face up. We have a fresh bobbin for the most part. Just gonna press that. Flat. And then I'll add tape. Okay, now that is ready, and we can get our overlay on there as well. The very first one I made was the test that I did. Whew, I was not centered at all. I was like, what was I even thinking? I don't even know. So this is going to go 1.5 inches down, centered. Press it into place, and then we're going to sew around the outside edge. And I added a bunch of woven labels to the other side, so I'm not adding woven labels to this side. Even though they're fully divided. And we'll cut that open. So slice through the middle. And then I'm just trimming that excess away. Okay. So then we'll take the zipper pocket lining. Make sure your zipper is going in the direction you want, and we're just going to peel off the bottom. I'm not doing it the same way as in the pattern. I'm doing it the fancy way. Just because I'm like, well, it is nice. It almost felt like easy, medium, now hard. Like I'm leveling up in a game. I'm like, yeah, do that. I'm gonna level up. So we'll get the bottom placed and sew that first. But also there's nothing wrong with playing a game on easy mode. You can do any method that makes you happy. And in the end, you'll have a bag with a zipper pocket. So just remember that. Okay, and then we'll press this down. And then we'll press this down. Peel that tape. And then don't stretch your vinyl. Okay. And then you can start on whatever side works for you. So I'm starting with my foot up, needle down, so that I know they're lined up. And then we'll pivot and sew across. And then we'll pivot down, ending in that same hole. Long tails. Pull through and tie off. The longer the threads are, the way easier I find it to tie those. But I guess it's like a perfect length you gotta find. All right, and then we are turning the bag through the lining, so I'm gonna trim these to be the same. I am cutting through both because, full disclosure, I knew they weren't straight, so I'm kind of straightening them up now. Okay. Okay, trimming the excess. And turning that pocket. So this is going to give us a nice finished edge to top stitch. Let me turn the bag. So we've got our zipper pocket in. Feels so nice. Tapered to the top edge. So these are our two interior main panels. We can work on our center divider, which I am gonna add 2 zippers to, she said, questioning if she really was. Upper top, zipper tabs. Yeah, I'm adding 2 because I pulled the zipper pulls out that I wanted. So we'll add our zipper to the top zipper. I'm like, I know I can do it by hand, but I don't want to anymore. And we're going to be adding zipper tabs to our center divider zipper. This is our top zipper, so we're going to go ahead and prep it. I'm going to take my lighter and then I'm going to pivot the corners, pinching the back behind the front. And I just use a hair clip and melt that together. And you just want to do your best to make sure they are even along the top so that your zipper zips even. So that's going to be for our zipper panel. And now for our zipper tabs, we're just going to fold those in half long way and then fold the edges to meet the center line. I'm going to take my lighter. And this is so you have a finished edge along the sides that will be seen. Wrong side, so fold it in half. I love this Renew canvas. It holds a crease so beautifully. And now top stitch that into place. I'm just taking one side after another. Okay. And I love this divider. It's just one big zipper pocket with raw edges. So you're gonna pick your, I'm using this really fun bright blue for the lining. And so we're gonna add double-sided tape. This is optional, you don't have to, but I love to. Double-sided tape to that top edge. This is where our zipper is gonna go. So we'll do one on each piece. on the right side. Yeah. And this is baby blue Renew canvas, and this is Shibori blue. Okay. So I'm going to peel this tape away. This is my lining. And so we're just going to center this on the main panel. And so this is my lining, so when I unzip it, I want to look in and see the right side. So in case you're like, wait, that's wrong. No, it's not. I'm just doing it kind of backwards. Okay, now exterior, face down, centering over that. Okay. And then you'll do anywhere from 1/4 to 3/8. I like to go right in between. And before I get to my zippers, just unzip them out of the way and carry on. And we're going to open this up and press it. And top stitch. And we can top stitch the entire length because it's a raw edged pouch. Those raw edges are going to be hidden in the lining seam allowance, so it's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about making sure it's out. Like I've explained on different pouches, if you sew through your lining and your exterior all together, it creates this weird bunching because your layers can never be flat. But for this, doesn't matter. Okay. Just make sure that is nice and straight. You can. Try not to pull or twist your zipper too much. You want to just give it a gentle touch. Ouija board hands, we like to call it. Unless that's too spooky for you, then call it gentle hands. Okay, I'm pressing my exterior down. I had a weird little bump where those zipper pulls were, so I just readjusted it. How did I run out of bobbin again? Dang. All right, I'm gonna switch to a different color for my bobbin. It's not gonna matter, they're close enough just to get us through. You're gonna see the top stitch. Again, only we're gonna know. Okay? Don't tell anybody. Oh, I love that purple zipper. If you need to, you could use some foam or fleece in your divider. Just make sure that you keep it out of your seam allowance. Okay, we're gonna stick all these layers together. The base along the bottom first. Okay. So I'm going to trim mine ever so slightly. You don't need to do this. You probably cut yours perfectly. You're an angel. Mine was not so good. So, just cut that little bit from the bottom, and it'll be okay. Okay, center divider, ready to go. Was that my next step? No, of course not. Okay, zipper panel. Ooh, we're running out of pieces. Okay. So when I cut this out, I measured 1 inch and added double-sided tape. And I did that so when I came here, started sewing and all that, I didn't have to worry about taping anything. And I could just get into folding it. I did future me a favor. And there really is no, oh, never mind, I did fussy cut. So before I forget where the fussy cut is, I'm adding some double-sided tape. This is where my zipper is going to go. Repeating that with my lining fabric. If you cut yours out to the exact specifications of the pattern, yours might be both lining fabric, and that is okay. There is no interfacing in that piece, I don't believe, like additional stabilizer, but you could always add some if you would prefer. Okay, I'm adding my zipper. I'm adding it about 1/4 inch from that top edge. If it's a smaller zipper panel, I don't do quite that large of a distance. I like it a little bit closer to the top, but you do not want it extending past the folded edge or right on the folded edge. Okay, so as I'm pressing these together, I'm making sure that they are lining up accurately, and then we're going to use about a 3/8 inch. If you prefer to use a quarter, that's fine too. Lining those up, and I'll begin to top stitch. And I know that I tend to cut my lining wider than I need to, so I'm not worried about the excess on the raw end of this panel. Because I can cut it off. So nicely cut off that excess. Good to go. Repeat on the other side. Lining up this side. Voila. And when I'm sewing those together, I'm leaving about 1/8 to 1/4 unsewn. The less you can do, the better. Making a nice crease line on one side and then creasing the other. You don't want to try to do both layers at the same time. It's just kind of a pain. Makes it a little bit trickier later on. And if you feel like you would rather, you can top stitch this open side down first, but I would only recommend doing that if you know all the others are good to go. What you don't want to do is start sewing along the folded edge here, like next to the zipper, because you're going to then see your back stitching. You don't want that. Okay. Zipper panel is done, and you can do a quick little stitch across the teeth if you don't want it to come undone while you're sewing it together. So I'll clip this. You could also just measure it. It's probably more accurate than folding. Where'd you go? So we'll make a little crease. And that is our center. Okay, now we can get this added to the lining. Okay, my zipper is open. This zipper is closed. You want them zipping closed in the same direction. The divider doesn't matter. We have 2 pulls attached. You could baste that if you need to. I feel okay about it. And now this is our top panel to the lining. Three-eighths of an inch. And then we're sewing underneath the zipper panel, top stitching under it. So we're going to flip this up, the bulk of our seam allowance pointing down. If you're worried about your seam allowances being too bulky in an area, you can do that little Knotted Threads Co. bulk reduction technique. I love this thread on that navy, man. It's so good. So good. All right. So then we'll repeat to add our zipper to the next side. Make sure it's centered, and you can also make sure that your linings line up. And if they don't, I don't know why. I'm okay leaving this here because it's nowhere near my seam allowance. So I don't think it'll be a problem. Okay, 3/8. All right, and when we flip that up, that's where we want to be careful that things are out of the way. Right there. That's how you want to do this? Girl. All right. I'm grabbing another purple. It is so close to the end. And my top thread was still hanging on that I think I can kind of fake it. Okay. So now we're looking at a lot. It's okay. We're almost to the end. We're going to take our center divider and we're going to add our bottom panels centered. You could tape these in place, but I'm going to clip one and then flip it over. Wrong sides up, right sides together. And then you're going to start at 1/2 inch, end at 1/2 inch with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And yes, I am eyeballing it. Okay, it's a scrap of fabric. I was like, what just flew from my machine? Stop at 1/2. Back stitching nicely. Okay, and then we're gonna fold this bottom panel out of the way while we attach the sides. And I'll make my crossbody strap at the end when I have all the same color bobbin. Okay, I'm going to baste this along this side at 1/8 ish. And then you're gonna turn it over. Wait, what happened to the clip? Did it fall off or did I take it off? Am I insane? What are you, insane? The drop off. Okay. So that's basted. So now we can clip this side. I'm gonna do 3/8, but kind of increase it in the lining, just a little bit, nothing crazy. Three-eighths at the top, back stitch. And then I'm just getting, girl, 1/2 inch. All right. Switching out the clips. Finding our center snips, because Lauren at the cutting table left snips. And you're just opening up the bottom curve. And you could start with one side at a time, and you can staple that if you would prefer. So what I'm gonna do is that 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm starting on the straight side of one. And then just slowly, as I get to the divider, kind of pushing that in, and I'm going to sew into that corner as close as I can. Okay. then starting on this straight side here as well. And then I'm pulling to make sure I don't get any puckers. We've come this far on a bag that took this much. Let's not mess it up. Okay, getting as close as I can. I'm gonna lift up, push that seam in the opposite direction, and sit back down on top of it. And continue on this curve over here. And then remember, we still have this side over here, so I'm just going to continue on. It's not going to hurt to have 2 rows of stitches. We're going to get as close as we can. Lift up, push the seam in the opposite direction, straighten out my layers, and then continue on. Ah, there we go. The foot was stuck on that bulk. There we go. Now I want to trim just a little bit away. So now your lining needs to be turned right side out. And you can't really do that in a pretty way because your center divider is going to keep it from being able to just sit nicely. So you're essentially going to pick a side. I'll pick the side with a zipper pocket to push my excess away from. So you'll see how it kind of bunches. And I'm just using my fists to push things as flat as possible. Okay. I'm gonna put my zipper pocket. I never added my nameplate. Oh my gosh. For shame. All right, we're gonna mark the centers anyway. I would have been so sad. This bag is looking so pretty. Okay, clipping, marking my top centers. It doesn't quite matter on this back side, but when we line everything up, couldn't hurt to know it's centered. All right. We'll try for 1 1/4 inches. All right, this is, yeah, this will be good. It helps to have your nameplate out before you get this process started. So I'm lining up where my washer, or where I'm centering the nameplate between the lines. So if you're ordering custom nameplates and you're worried about getting it lined up just right, make sure you order an even numbered nameplate. Okay, and then from there, I'll rip those holes very carefully. Make sure that goes on the right side of your bag. Okay. Now, zipper pocket to the back, and then line up your centers. We're getting close. I'm gonna top stitch it. I'm gonna sew it together with the current thread situation, and then before I top stitch, I'll switch my bobbin. It's a little tricky to get things to feel lined up with that center divider wanting to push against. But you could always add some staples. Just make sure you cut them away, of course. My gosh, I cannot imagine making the traveler size of this, because this tote is big. Okay. Boop. All right. 3/8. Come on. And if you need to mark your seam allowance, you can. There is that top curve that you want to stay consistent for. Okay. Just added some clips. Okay. Pressing open that seam, making sure it's all lined up. one more stitch. There we go. Phew. Now we're going to turn the bag. And I just left my zipper pocket open, but we're going to grab the base of the bag first. This is a lot of bag. And you can do this bag as a drop-in lining. It's just going to be a little more complicated because of the curved sides, but doesn't mean it's impossible. And once you get the bulk of the bag out, you can just kind of push the lining away. There you go. You want to move quickly. And then pressing against your seams and layers, just going to help everything sit a little flatter. And then that top portion of the lining gets shoved in. And I love the way this bag feels. I'm enjoying the structure. I'm so glad I added the stabilizer to the main panels as well. And make sure you're massaging those seams so that they sit nicely. And then things will start to come together once you push your lining into place. And we'll top stitch this pocket closed. Ooh, can't forget to switch out my bobbin. Set that there so I don't forget. I'll do it after I top stitch this. Put an "in my sewing era" tag in there. I don't know, I'm like, I have a drawer full of tags. Can I please just use as many as possible? I'm sure y'all feel the same way. Can't stop designing them. And then there's so many other people that design them too. Oh, it feels so nice. It's so big. Oh my gosh. All right. Change the bobbin so we can top stitch. This bag takes a long time. I'm laughing in my head because it's 1 in the morning and I was like, I'm gonna get 2 bags done. No, go to bed. You'll feel better. Alrighty. So, the last couple of times I top stitched this, I actually did it from the bobbin side. I was like, live dangerously. What is the Taco Bell motto? Live dangerously? I'm kidding. But I also feel like this bag is big enough I wouldn't have to. You could do the trick where people like turn the bag inside out again. But I really think I can kind of get it like this. Yeah, that'd be good. My stitch length is at about a 4.5. I think that'll be okay. And just go slow. Needle down if you pivot. Make sure your zipper panel is out of the way. As you're top stitching, if you are at all worried that your zipper panel is going to kind of migrate to be in the way, I will apply some pressure with my finger so I can feel underneath. And like right here, I feel some bulk, but I know that's my seam allowance. So it's okay, and continue on. Look at that. We're back to the beginning. It wasn't so bad. Are my internal lights flickering? Or is that the regular lights? Is it you? I don't know. All right. Give her a zip. Oh, it's so pretty. So we've got our zipper end to add and our straps. I can do the straps super quick. I'm probably not going to top stitch the crossbody on camera. Y'all probably know how to do one. I don't need to. I'm making a crossbody strap. The little template I was using is from Jolie Lee Creations. It's a little strap end, or a little strap rivet placement guide. I like using it because then I know that my strap is consistent, you know? Punch those holes. Okay, we need 4 rivets. I'll probably use 2 on the crossbody strap. Okay, and some caps. So now you can decide, do you want, yes, I think I just want the solid print down. Solid out, print down. And then your strap should just be on the front of the bag. So you're looping and making a U on the front of the bag. You don't want to go from side to side or anything like that. And then you can even check, do you like the way that looks? Because I do. Line that up so we don't have any twisted rivets. And then stay consistent. Solid vinyl out. And this will keep the connectors from kind of dipping inside that pocket if you're doing like a magnetic snap closure, so you've got a big pocket versus a little slip pocket like we did. And there was no difference in cutting that. We just added that half moon hardware. But you could just do a regular, sorry, you could just do a regular magnet if you wanted. It's so cute. Okay, I don't think I have, yeah, I didn't pick out a screw. So that's okay. But we're gonna add our zipper end just like that. You can screw it or you can glue it. You have to screw it. But that is the final look of the bag. I'm obsessed. It's so pretty. All right, so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I will finish the crossbody strap later. Or maybe I'll do it now, but off camera. But this is one big pocket. Crossbody connectors are so cute on the side of the bag. I love the look of that big pocket with that fancy feel-in lock. All right, bye.